For you new players, beginner players, there's some things that you just have to learn to do from the very beginning. You have to learn to hold the golf club in your fingers. That's where it belongs. You have to learn the way your hands work, and then you have to learn the way your body works. Most beginners do it the opposite. My body's job in the swing, if I put this in my belly button, my body's job in the swing is to make the club swing around me like this in a circle. So that's and my arms help with that too. So my arms and my body are responsible for swinging the club around, and my hands are responsible for hinging the club up and down and keeping the club face square. And so if you can understand that as a beginner player, my body makes it go around, my arms make it go up and down. The blend of that is what creates an angle with the shaft correctly, and you'll be a lot better off. Most beginners I see do the opposite. They're trying to make their hands go around, and then they try to make their body make it go up and down by tilting. And so if you'll understand that as a brand new player, that simply my body's job is to turn around, my hand's job is to hinge the club up and down, and I simply tell new players, I show them how to address the ball and set up correctly and the distance away, and then simply I want them to turn to this position and hinge their hands up, and then I just want them to swing on the way through once they're in that position. So if you're a new player, great swing thought is to turn, hinge up, and swing your arms forward. It's a great way to learn how to play, and it'll probably save you weeks and weeks and weeks of experimenting on your own. In my opinion, what every beginner player needs to know is they need to make one of these training aids. Patrick will put a link to a video that we've done earlier that's had thousands of views. I recommend you watch it. I recommend you make one. It'll show you how to make it. It'll show you how to practice with it. It's just a piece of PVC pipe, 2 mini mag flashlights. All you simply have to do is have a target line on the ground, and with the flashlights you learn to point at the target line. As a beginner player, it'll teach you how to use your arms and hands and wrist angles correctly, and it's my greatest piece of advice for new players. When I've worked with beginner players with the old way, just teaching them how to grip the club and stand and stuff, sometimes it takes several weeks before they can even strike the ball solidly. What I found over the years is when I have a brand new player, the first thing I do is put this in their hands, and I promise you within 15 minutes of swinging this inside, if I go out to the driving range with a brand new player, they'll get the ball airborne, and it's amazing. So make you one of these, use it. Every beginner, anybody that's shooting more than 100 in their golf game that does not have this training aid, you're crazy. You'll get better. Use it, make it, use it, and you'll thank me, I promise. One of the things when you do what I do for a living, and generally speaking, most of my lessons are swing technique and how to improve some function of playing golf, whether it's chipping, pitching, putting, or full swing. But it's very important that you understand mentally how to prepare to play, and then actually what to be thinking about when you're on the golf course. It's been great. I've had quite a few people from around the country that have watched Patrick and I's videos and have come to see me for lessons, and it's been pretty cool to meet them and work with them. I had one of my favorite students come see me from Kansas City because he'd seen our YouTube channel. I remember the first time I met him, I shook his hand and I called him by name, and he said, "Call me doctor." And I said, "Doctor?" I said, "Well, you're a doctor?" He says, "I am the doctor of love." And so I've always called him the Doctor of Love ever since. So the Doctor of Love drove all the way from Kansas City to see me one Saturday morning. And he's turned himself into a really good player. He was a tennis player, picked up golf late in life, and is a single-digit handicap now. And he came to see me when he was just beginning to play, and he wasn't very good at all. And he was really nervous about playing golf when he got on the golf course. And so I told him, I'll say it in appropriate language, but I told him, I said, nobody gives about what you're doing. Nobody cares about your game. Every group that you're in, the other person's too worried about their own game to worry about you. So quit worrying about what other people think about you and just go play golf when you're out there. And he told me, he said, that's one thing, this was 25 years ago, probably, that I told him this, maybe 30. And he told me that was the one thing that he learned from me that probably improved his golf game the most, was literally not caring about what other people thought about him or his game. That being said, the only thing I think that most players get upset about if they don't know you and they're playing with you for the first time is if you can keep up pace of play. If you're too slow, they won't enjoy playing with you. But other than that, they don't care at all about how good you are as long as you keep up. So you new players out there, you players that aren't breaking 100 yet, that are so self-conscious about your game, I promise you, if you'll quit caring about what other people think and just go out and enjoy yourself and enjoy the golf course and try to hit your best shot on each shot, you'll be okay. One of the other comments that I get a lot, people will come out here on the range and I'll be giving them a lesson, and they hit it great when they're with me. And then when they go play, they don't hit it nearly as well, and their game falls apart. And they all tell me, man, you just need to follow me around. Every time I'm with you, I hit it great. I always tell them they can't afford for me to follow them around all the time, and they chuckle. But there's a reason they hit it better when I'm with them than when they get on their own. There's a reason, and it happens to every player. I tell my players to not evaluate every shot. If you hit a shot and it slices to the right, the next swing you should not be trying not to slice it. That's the habit that everybody gets in. Constant correction on every shot that they take, whether it's on the driving range or on the golf course. What I am very good at when I'm with people is I can get them to forget about everything else except for one simple swing thought that we might be working on. And so that is my point. You need to have I believe every player should have a swing thought on every swing. There's some sport psychologists that say you should only think about the target, but I literally don't know any competitive player that solely does that. I think most of them have some swing thought. It may vary week to week on what is working, but they usually just have one simple thought. My opinion, the thought shouldn't be body related. You shouldn't think about transferring your weight correctly. You shouldn't think about dropping your elbow. You shouldn't think about things that are related to what your different body parts are doing. What you should think about is simpler things. If you ever see Johnny Miller have a discussion on how to improve your iron play, all he'll tell you is to brush the grass, okay? I learned that years ago when he came to Mid Rivers Golf Links. I played an exhibition match, 9 holes against Johnny Miller, and I tied him. But he was awesome. He gave a clinic beforehand. He was super to about 20 junior golfers. that I had in my junior golf program that came out to see him, none of them had ever heard of Johnny Miller. They were 12 years old, and he was 50 by then probably. And but all he simply talked about is brushing the grass or where the club goes on the follow through. I'm a big believer in swing thoughts having to do with bottoming out the swing correctly or where you want the club to exit. And so keep that in mind as a player. Don't evaluate every swing. Don't evaluate, if you go to the range and you have a bucket of balls and you're going to hit 25 drivers, hit 25 drivers with one swing thought, and the same swing thought every time, and evaluate all 25. Were 20 of them good and 5 of them lousy? Were 20 lousy and 5 good? Obviously, if there's a bunch of them lousy, you have things to work on. But man, if you're on the driving range can do 20, 21, 22 good drives and only 3 really bad ones, that's really not bad. And if you look at the dispersions on the tour players, if you watch, gosh, especially in Ryder Cup and stuff like that, these guys hit it all over the place. But they don't evaluate every shot, and they don't get up on the next hole thinking they're going to hit a bad shot just because the last one was bad. And that's my biggest advice to you, is don't change what your thoughts are because of 1 or 2 or 3 bad shots that happen to you on the golf course.